I want to start by thanking everyone for being here at this late night 8 p.m. tip-off. Really appreciate it. I'm going to get to the two great players and great people that you just heard from, Jalen Tyson and Jalen Cohen. But before I do, I want to talk about our bench. And I'm going to start with Gus Larson. I mean, Gus had a huge impact on the game tonight. Gus Larson went in. He made key defensive plays. He was a presence. He had a great voice out there. And he was an anchor. He was an anchor for us defensively when we needed it. When Fardaws went out with the foul trouble and I was disputing those calls, which is my job as a head coach to do because Doss was playing so hard, I felt like Gus gave us great minutes. Devin Curtis gave us phenomenal minutes. Grant Newell, I mean, you talk about one of the most efficient lines of the night and really of the year for him. 2 for 3 from 3, 8 points. He rebounded the ball well. Rodney Brown's doing what he's done all year. Come up and make huge, huge shots. Get us into offense. Be a leader out there, even as a freshman. And so our bench tonight was huge to helping this win. And I can't overstate that enough. Jalen Cohen, clutch free throws. Jalen Cohen has never met a big moment that he does not embrace and that he's not ready for. Jalen Cohen's going to play a lot of minutes because he has so much energy, defensively, offensively, and he's always such a threat on the court. And then Jalen Tyson, one of the best players in the country, and he does it through his hard work. I mean, the improvement that Jalen Tyson came in, and early on in the summer, the team was saying Jalen Tyson's the best player on the team. And there's a lot of ways to and that's not to take away anything from any other member of the team, but that's what some of his teammates were saying. But even from that point, his work ethic has and continues to take him and his game to even improved levels. I was proud of our team. Turnovers have been an issue for us this year. We had 5 turnovers. I made a deal with the players. I hope they forget about it. I said, if we can have a game where we have 4 turnovers or less in the first half, and 4 turnovers or less in the second half, you guys can have a day off. We'll just do individual work and individual film. So I'm hoping they forgot about that because I want to practice tomorrow, okay? But I was proud of our guys. Give a lot of credit to Colorado. Colorado came out and just blitzed us from the start. They just blitzed us. And we were doing every single thing we had worked on, and none of it was working. But our guys kept fighting, and we were able to turn the tide, and I'm proud of our team.
Mark, what is a game like this? I mean, you had a great performance at UCLA. This is a different team at UCLA. To be down 20 and come back, what can this do for you going forward?
I think it can prove to the guys the simple principle of no matter what happens, keep on working, keep on fighting because the tide can turn at any moment. One of my mentors, Tex Winter, who was really Phil Jackson's right-hand man, he used to always say it, and all of us who played for Tex and Phil, we know what Tex says. He says in the game of basketball, everything can turn on a trifle. In the NBA, there are 30-point swings. And so the key is when you hit adversity, just keep working, keep fighting. It's not going to turn in every single situation, but it can turn in a lot of situations. And so work and fight, and things can happen, things can change.
It was a big difference in the defensive intensity late in the game, and you guys crashed the boards on the offensive end where it looked like everybody was kind of standing around up until that point. What's it going to take to see that effort spread out more throughout the game, or is it more of an energy issue?
Jim, I got to figure it out as a head coach. It's like we've had some bad starts this year, and that's on me as a head coach. And I'll watch the film, I'll talk with the staff, I'll talk with the players. Sometimes you work the team really hard, and then if you have a bad start, I tired them out. The practices leading up to the game. Sometimes you try to keep it lighter, thinking we're going to conserve energy, kind of an NBA model. And then if you have bad energy, you didn't practice hard enough. And so that's something that I'll continue to attack, continue to study, and I'll try to find the right balance so we can have better starts.
Mark, I know I'm still a lot older than you are, but I'm assuming you probably know who Paul Pressey is and was.
Oh, I coached with Paul Pressey at the Lakers.
Like I said.
Yeah, so he's a friend.
Is Jalen Tyson a modern-day version of Paul Pressey?
100%. I think that analogy and that comparison is a great comparison. We have multiple point guards on this team. Jalen Cohen plays point guard. Rodney Brown is evolving into someone with point guard skills. Jalen Tyson over the summer, after a week, he didn't have a lot of assist numbers coming out of Texas Tech. After a week or two of being here, we track everything. I told him, I said, Jalen, you need to start challenging yourself to develop point guard skills because you already are a phenomenal passer naturally. And the challenge for him was, certain specific things, and he's embraced them. And you're seeing his game unfold before you with point guard skills.
I'll say this, without Devin, you don't really have a really true point guard. Is that fair? I mean, you don't have a guy who's the natural distributor. But you still win back-to-back games without Devin, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing Devin is a huge blow to this team. And I give so much credit to Devin because he's doing everything in his power from a rehabilitation standpoint to get back. I think Jalen Cone is a fantastic point guard. The thing that Jalen Cone has is he mixes in also an aggressive scoring mentality. And so maybe he's non-traditional in that sense, but he's a great distributor. Jalen Tyson, again, I'll call him a scoring point guard. But I think your comments are fair.
Coach, I see Eddie Lamin, I had flashbacks to Brandon Walker in Montana State. Is there something about that player profile, the big physical body inside, footwork, that gives your team some problems?
I wouldn't read into that too much. I think Eddie came out motivated. I think he came out with a particular. Sometimes players come out with a chip on their shoulder. I thought Eddie Lampkin played a good game. He played with great energy. He made plays, and he had a good game. And that was noticeable. His energy and effort, that was noticeable.
Coach, you guys struggled to shoot the ball in the first half, but the second half shot up 58%. Do you feel like it was just a thing where you just need to see the ball fall through the hoop a couple times, or was there certain adjustments made at halftime that kind of got you guys in good place?
I wish I had an answer for you. I would say a couple of things. Open shots are way better than contested shots. Open in rhythm shots. It seemed like I need to watch the film, but it seems like we had a lot more of those in the second half. But I'll reiterate something Kevin McHale used to always say, just something as simple as confidence. Sometimes the basket looks so big, just like you're looking at the ocean, you pick up a rock, no matter what rock you throw in, it's going in the ocean. Sometimes the basket looks like that. Sometimes it looks like there's nothing you can do to get the ball through that hole. And it can swing back and forth. But I would say, just off memory of the game, and I still need to study the film, it did seem like we had more open and in rhythm threes and shots in the second half as opposed to the first. In the first half, Colorado, their defense took us out of our rhythm, 100%. They did a great job defensively, just blitzing us.
Or if I wrote that this was the first signature win of the Mark Madsen era, would I be wrong?
I hope we have many more. We are going to have many more wins that are impressive, that are over skilled opponents. This is the start. There's very few teams that go undefeated, and so I know we're going to hit a pothole or two. But I'll tell you this: we are going to fight every step of the way.
Pretty rare that a team shoots 7% more from three than from the field overall. We talked about coming into the season having a lot of perimeter threats, but 47% from three and 40 overall from the floor, that's a pretty unusual situation.
No, Jim, it is.
But they count for more, so it's a good thing.
That's a good thing. A month ago, somebody came up to me and said, "Why are you shooting so many threes?" And in my mind, I'm thinking, we got good three-point shooters, that's why. And then I went and looked at the analytics, and it's like, yeah, we do. The analytics, and we don't base decisions off analytics, but we look at it. The analytics, if you were talking to Alabama's head coach, they shoot a ton of threes. And I don't know what he would say, but he's probably going to say, if you're 33% or above, shoot a ton of threes. That's the threshold. You got PPP of 1, and so my thing is open ones, and let's never forget to drive the basketball because there's nothing like free throws and layups and dunks too.
Coach, thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night.